Hey YouTube, this is City Prepping. In this video, I want to share with you 5 immutable principles that as preppers, we're going to need to observe as this coming year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, I really personally believe the next decade is going to present a lot of challenges that if you don't position yourself now, you are going to be in a very difficult situation. I think 2021 is going to have a lot of challenges that we're already seeing the signs of these things, so what's going to probably be coming here shortly. For example, on December 26th of this year, 12 million people will lose employment benefits. That program is going to end. Rent forbearance programs have been ending. Inevitably, foreclosures will start spiking. If you lived through the 07-08 crash, I wouldn't say it's an exact one-for-one match, but you're seeing similarities. The economy. It's frustrating because you watch Wall Street and you see the stock market keep climbing, but Main Street, people on everyday life are having a lot of challenges. And you may ask, well, why is Main Street and Wall Street disconnected? Primarily, it's because the government has been providing a lot of stimulus and money that they've been pouring into these different businesses, and these businesses begin to learn the pattern. They're lining up. When's the next round coming? And when we see that stop, I think we're going to see a reverse in our markets. And I think what we're going to have to really do is begin to ask questions and prepare. And when I say ask questions, of asking what can I do now to prepare myself for next year? And the 5 points I'm going to share, these are things I'm personally doing. These are not abstract ideas of, hey, these are things that will help you as a prepper. These are things that I'm personally doing right now, and I'm lining up and projecting in the next 6 months I'll have completed them. Some of them are ambitious, and I'll talk about that a little more. So let me jump into the 5 laws that are immutable immutable prepping principles, rather, that are just as important today as they've ever been. Number 1 is the ability to produce your own food. And we can talk a lot, and I will over the next few months, about long-term food storage. But having the ability to garden, at least developing that skill set now, is going to be critical. Now, I used to be guilty of this. I used to say, well, I've got seeds that I've stored up, and if things go bad, I'll just plant them. For those that have gardened, it's not always that easy. Things happen, gardens don't go a certain way. And this year I learned that lesson. We put in a garden in March, and one of the things that was really frustrating is that, the lockdowns were beginning, so I was really limited in my options for soil. I went to a company, the soil didn't look that great. I was like, I don't know if this is usable, so I'll amend it, put in some different things, and the plants, they took off, and then boom, they just stopped all of a sudden. We ended up bringing in a consultant here recently, and he looked at our garden, and he explained the different issues, and one of the things he pointed out was soil deficiencies. So over the Christmas break, we're going to take everything apart, we're going to start all over again, and it's frustrating because we just spent a whole year and a lot of money and a lot of time building this up. But the point is that we learned. And so we're going to do it better next time. We learned the mistakes, and I'll share the mistakes probably on a video I'll do in the next couple of weeks. But all that to say is you need to develop these skills now. And again, they take time to develop. I wish they were just instantaneous, but they're not. So let me jump into the next point, which is health. Now, our culture here in America, again, I'll just be honest with you, this is something that, we tend to take an attitude of, hey, if I have a health problem, there's probably a treatment or medicine that can solve my problem. We often neglect our health. I mean, obesity in America is at an all-time high, morbid obesity. We've got a lot of problems, and, taking care of your health now is going to be so critical. During this pandemic, I began to put on weight, admittedly. I wasn't going out as much, got a little frustrated. I began to kind of eat more than I should have, drink more than I should have. I'll say it that way. And I started a keto diet about a month ago. I'm down 10 pounds. My goal is to drop another 20 pounds over the next 3 months. I want to get down to about 155. I know that's pretty light, but, I looked at the different charts, and my size, my age, I need to be down at that weight. Now, as you begin to pack on more weight, the, likelihood of, cancer, diabetes, joint issues, you name it, they come into play. And it is frustrating, but you can have an impact now. You can make decisions now how you diet, specifically how you eat. I jog every day, and it's frustrating because a lot of times people ask me, well, hey, I've got this health condition, what do I do? Let me just share a personal story. I bought a home gym a few months ago, and I thought, hey, I'll invest in myself. I'm going to buy some weights. I'm going to start working out. And what ended up happening was I started working out, had shoulder problems, went in and got an x-ray. Turns out I've got arthritis. They were kind of surprised for my age to have the advanced arthritis that I have. Started doing squats. I have an old injury, it ended up getting flared up, and they're like, you can't do squats anymore. It's just it's not in the cards for you. And there's a few other things that happened as a result of me working out. Apart from the gym and having to go to the hospital to get all this stuff, it was expensive. So I'm going to sell the equipment off, but I'm going to continue to exercise, run every day, and continue to monitor what I eat, drop calories. Having said that, I don't know how and what our medical system is going to look like over the next 5 to 10 years. But suffice it to say, the decisions you make today will impact your future. And if things go sideways in our economy or in our world, having your health already, let's just put it this way, taking preventative measures now to take care of your health, it's going to be very important. So take that for what it's worth. The third point is self-sufficiency and getting an area with defensible space, which is the concept or the discussion of land. I brought that up on this channel a lot. A few years ago, I bought 5 acres. I was living on it. Ran into a lot of problems. Ended up selling it this spring and March. Luckily, bought low, sold high, so I did all right. So I'm rolling that extra money that I made off that into the next piece of land I get. I'm going to be looking for some land up in the mountains around me. There's a few mountain communities, Big Bear, Idlewild, Julian. I'm trying to find something within an hour's driving time. And it was interesting because I shared earlier about Roman talking to him. He's the owner of Mirror Safety. Him telling me the stories of in Soviet Union, those that had the ability to garden, they were successful. And he was sharing with me those that had plots of land outside of the town, they fared better. And that's really my objective, is I want to be able to get a space that I may not be living on anytime soon, something that's a little remote, that if, off the kind of beaten path out of the main city centers, that will serve two purposes. It's going to be a bug out location if things go sideways, and it can be an area that I develop, food. Obviously, finding something with water out here in Southern California is a challenge for me, but it's something I'm going to begin to look for. Now, getting to bug out locations will lead me to the next point. Where I live, we are kind of in a locked-in area. We're in the Inland Empire of Southern California. And we've got the 215 freeway. And those on a good day are pretty busy and they're pretty jammed. So if anything happens, if there's a disaster, being able to quickly go on those freeways is all but impossible. So my strategy is to build a bug-out vehicle for off-roading purposes. I already shared a video last week about that. I'll be doing a lot of videos as I begin to build a bug-out vehicle, building comms on it, navigation, self-recovery system. There are a lot of different mountains out here with a lot of trails that you can get to certain locations, but you really need a solid off-roading vehicle. So part of my strategy is to build that out. Part of it is I just want to get out and have some fun, do some camping with my kids, build it into an overlanding vehicle, and I'm pretty excited about that. But at the back of my mind, the main goal when I look at that is having mobility. Because if I do get a community that's far away, get something in the mountains, I'll need that. So keep in mind, whatever your situation is, have a plan and a strategy in place. Be mobile, whether that's a bug out bag with a bike, whether that's your car, whatever it is, you need to really have a plan in place. And we saw that this year with civil unrest and other things that happened. It doesn't take much for a community to get flared up. And if you get stuck in it, you'll be in a position you may not want to be. So take that for what it's worth. And the last point is looking to the future, which is, the concept of investing. Now, this one's not discussed a lot in the prepping community. I think a lot of times the reasoning maybe behind it is we sometimes admittedly have kind of a Mad Max mindset of, hey, everything's going to go to hell in a handbasket in the next 6 months. And we tend to be myopic, admittedly. We tend to look at what's in front of us. What's the problem we're facing right now? And everything kind of consumes us on that single problem. But the thing that I would feel bad for people is if they don't make simple investments now and prepare, that in 5, 10, 15 years, whenever your horizon is for retirement, that you end up getting to that point, having nothing, no assets, and you're stuck in a position where you have to work and you may not be able to due to your age. So my encouragement to you is find a strategy that works for you to invest. If things don't play out where, investing, or, everything you invest is lost, well, that is a possibility. We all take that risk as an investor. But the thing that I've learned, and I've read a lot of Robert Kiyosaki's books here lately, and I'll just kind of share a little nugget of truth that I've learned. It's his whole thing that I took away, because I used to read Dave Ramsey's material. I love Dave, but the only thing I don't like about Dave is it's kind of a conservative, risk-taking mindset. And you may say, well, he's not risky, but if you look at what he teaches, it kind of is. His model is, you go out, build a Roth IRA, 401k, whatever. You get these vehicles for investing. If you've seen the stock market, when it goes up or down, you go with it, especially if you have a Roth IRA. So my model right now is to build cash flow. I am investing in little things that can produce money back. And my overall strategy, and this is just my strategy, you may have a different one, but one of the things I learned from Robert's books is you find an investment that someone else pays for, that you own. The best example and the simple example is real estate. And so I'm going to begin to look here in the spring. I've kind of set a deadline for myself, March 1st, get my first investment property. I'm going to go out of state. I'm looking at either Arizona, Nevada, Phoenix, or Vegas. I know a lot of people are probably in the comment sections going to tell me don't go there, but I'm looking for something within a drivable 4 to 5 hour driving distance. So those two areas appeal to me. Again, I want to get out of California. My goal and my dream, and I have a big dream. I want to build a real estate empire in the next 20 years. I want to build a large cash flow model of properties, assets that I own that someone else is paying for that I can eventually roll over and pass on to my children. Using things like the 1034 exchange, I believe, or 1031, I always get them backwards. But I want to be able to pass that down to my children. Is there risk? Yeah, of course there's risk. But I've invested in the stock market in the past, and it's frustrating because when it crashes, you go with it. One other thing I decided to start investing in, I think it's still a good time to do it if you're somewhat risky, and is crypto. I got into it about 3 months ago, and it has served me really well. I'll put it that way. Crypto is volatile though. If you don't have a stomach for highs and lows, then probably not your best bet. But I'm looking, and I've invested in different Ethereum, or rather in Ethereum and Link and Bitcoin obviously as well. But I like those two, Ethereum and Link, because you can build cash flow off staking. And that's one thing that I'm always looking at, things that produce a cash flow. I'm not always worried about speculating on what may increase in value over time, but I'm always looking at what will eventually produce cash flow for me. So I'll do a video here pretty soon sharing my own experience with that. But let me summarize this last point: is look to the future and invest and prepare. Because again, as I talked about at the beginning of this video, I think those that can look a little further down the road and try to map out and build a plan, they're going to be in a much better position than those that stand back and say, well, it's all going to go, sideways in 5 months. It's just going to fall apart. If this president gets elected and he's put in the office on the 20th, and this is going to. I mean, look. Politics aside, whoever is the president next year has zero bearing on my life. I live my own life, and that's why I love the prepper community, is that this community affords me the opportunity through education to say, look, how can you get your own ducks in a row no matter what happens? So anyway, I'd love to get your feedback and thoughts. Post those in the comments section. And as always, stay safe out there.